Welcome back to Casey Cares, Kansas City's nonprofit voice, brought to you by Charitable Communications and generously underwritten by the Kauffman Foundation. I am Bobby Keys.
And I am Ruth Von Biggest.
Yes.
And we are doing the virtual thing.
That's right.
We didn't want our listeners to be without all the great folks. We are able to connect and provide really great advice and information. And right now we have, again, one of our favorite folks, and that is Eric Morgenstern with Morningstar Communications. Thanks for being with us, Eric.
Hi, Bobby. Hi, Ruth. Nice to be with you as always.
Yeah, thank you.
We were chatting a little bit before we joined you about how we miss that face-to-face contact, but I'll tell you, hearing the human voice and the emotion in it, is a good second way to do it if we can't be in the same room with each other. I'm drinking my cup of coffee and we'll feel like we're together.
Coffee, huh?
Actually, one of my positive points about what we're going through now, all of us are having to hone our skills at audio communication and at video communication. And those are skill sets that we've relied to face for a long, long time. And I'm just not sure it's going to be as much face-to-face going forward.
Yeah, I agree. I absolutely agree. I mean, because we both live in the same world outside of the nonprofit world is, that's video and audio communication and messaging is what I do. And that's like, it's actually, people are relying on it more. Corporations are like, we've got to get this stuff. We got to reach people. And this is how we do it. And it's really also, what you specialize in, your messaging. And, that's key to, kind of clean up and hone in on and get all that digital presence together these days for nonprofits and small businesses.
It's going to accelerate that for all of our not-for-profits, whether they want to or not.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Then that changes the fundraising aspect, right? I mean, that's a whole new world, like we were talking about earlier, before we got on there, you can't meet face to face anymore. So what are the first steps?
Think about, right, Bobby, how many not-for-profits rely on a huge double-digit % of their annual revenue through some form of an annual event?
Absolutely.
And poof, those are gone.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, one of the things I'm advising regularly right now is, while we all want to postpone, I am recommending cancel for many, many events, because just play this out. Yeah. At some point, we're on the other side of this craziness. Well, there's already a lot of stuff on the calendar. Now you're going to take all the stuff that didn't happen and plug it in on top of. Yep. I think we're going to see an awful lot of wasted effort. So one of the things I'm telling clients is, in the not-for-profit world, is, can you pivot from focusing on your long-term viability and core long-term sustainable important actions and flip and say, what can you do right now to make your mission have a positive impact on our region? So, for example, Turn the Page, one of the not-for-profits that I serve on the board of that focuses on third grade literacy, has canceled our big fundraiser and instead gone to all of our sponsors and said, look, we have an immediate need to get books in the hands of kids that are all at home now. The challenge is getting them to the library. Boy, that's even gone now. So we're doing a super intense, short-term, immediate book drive and trying to pivot some of the effort that would have been for our annual fundraiser to give us the money, and we're going to buy books. And by the way, they can buy books at like 20 or 30 cents on the dollar. So it's better to give Turn the Page the money and let them buy 3 books than all of us just donating a book. We'll take a book, but we'd rather have the money. Not exactly what we're here to talk about, but it is an urgent world out there.
Yeah. And now, go ahead,
Bobby.
We got to get used to the delay.
I know. This, we're glad to learn about Turn the Page. We'd love to talk with them and how they're pivoting. And putting that back, how are they communicating that? You're the strategic communications guru. Share with us how organizations like the Turn the Page then can get that kind of message out there, because everybody's out there on the internet now.
Right. There are only 4 communications channels: paid, earned, shared, and controlled. Paid are paid advertising. almost always way too expensive for all the not-for-profits we care about. Earned is publicity or speaking engagements. Really, really hard to get right now unless it has direct impact on what's going on in our world. Shared is everything that happens in the social arena. And we must activate enormous and engaging social presence. And finally, control. And this is the answer to your question, Ruth, is how do not-for-profits get their word to the people who matter most to them? Through a controlled communication, an email, a postal mail, a direct mail, somewhere where, as all of our not-for-profits have worked so hard to cultivate their own equity, their own credibility, their own thought leadership, now is the time to let that out. Publish a blog post, do statements on your website, activate your social channels in a way that is directly focused on what you are doing in spite of today's craziness to help your clients, customers, people you serve, however you want to define it. Direct communications is the best methodology today.
So real quick on what you just touched on, the controlled aspect of it, you mentioned email, but I was thinking, is this going to be a time where we kind of go back to the low tech and maybe, snail mail is something, that we might want to go back to, some nonprofits might want to revisit, and coming up with a creative way to send something in a snail mail?
Right, of course, is the answer, Bobby. When someone says to me, if I've got a piece of information I need to share, where do I get the word out? Do I take out an ad? Do I send a news release? Do we post it on the website? Do we put it on our social? Do I tell my employees to spread the word? Do I put it in my bill? The answer is E, all of the above, because everybody consumes information differently. Some people look at it directly. Some people get it indirectly. Some people never look at the hard paper version of the Kansas City Business Journal and only stay on the digital. Some only stay on the digital and never look at the paper version. The research shows that people consume their information through a huge variety of channels. And so the answer to the question is, should we incorporate postal mail? Should we do? Yes. All of the above is the right answer.
Now, kind of speaking to that point, do you want to kind of concentrate on the people that you're targeting and what they consume instead of broad brushing it? Because it seems like you could probably waste a lot of money, just buying a bunch of, content and having it made to where your demographic doesn't even consume the content in that channel.
Bobby, you're spot on again. The key phrase is recipient-oriented communication. Right. It's not what you want to say, it's what they need to hear.
Absolutely.
And that is not a semantic difference. That is a fundamental shift in how you tell your story. Yeah. So one of the things that we're noticing is that people are dramatically cutting down on email right now and moving more towards text and direct social engagement because of the immediacy of it. I have lots of folks that are only checking email once, twice a day, and these are the same people that would be checking it 30 times a day. So the vehicles are evolving. Covey teaches us stay focused on what's important, not always what's urgent. Well, in today's world right now, for the foreseeable future, I think the urgent is the important. And so as you were alluding to, Bobby, the content that our not-for-profits should be talking about should be today strictly within the frame of how are we still providing the products and services that we do, our core mission, in context of what's happening in the world. Anything else that you talk about, I would say at least for the month of April, is going to strike out as potentially negative, that you'll be tone deaf, that you'll be out of touch. I'm sorry. I'm reading the Ann Landers statements this morning. I always have a 2-second smile and look at that when I scan through my paper. And it says, go to events and mingle with others. And I'm thinking, okay, this was canned up. This was canned up a long time ago, because I don't think she's telling me to, commit a high-risk behavior. So we've got to be fresh, current, empathetic, and short-term, because today the urgent is the important. People aren't checking emails as much as frequently as they were. we're seeing a huge trend towards more and more texting, more and more direct messaging via social. People have a huge sense of urgency brought on by what we're all experiencing. I mean, is there a person that doesn't think last month lasted 3 months? I mean, was March not the longest month in history? We talk about the beginning of the crisis, and it was all in the last 30 days. No, we just didn't really have our eyes open to it, but that's a different conversation. The point is, as you're a not-for-profit, you need to be current, empathetic, proactive, sensitive, but you must keep communicating with the people who matter most to you. I go back to the hard line lessons I've learned in 40 years of crisis management and communications, and one of them, which everyone relates to, is in the absence of information, people default to a worst-case scenario. If I don't know what's going on, my default is not, I'm sure they're going to take care of me. I don't need to worry about that. In today's world, if I don't hear what's going on, my default is there's a problem. Something's wrong. So if you're a not-for-profit and you're not having the biggest problems in the world, keep communicating. If you're having huge problems, keep communicating. The moment you stop communicating, you fall out of everyone's radar. And so being effective, focused, short-term, but don't just hunker down. That's the worst thing you can do.
So unlike what you see at the movies, which we can't go out into movie theaters right now, silence is not golden.
Just think about it. If I care about the ABC organization and I haven't heard from them in 30 days, what questions do you have of yourself? I'm sure everything's fine, or, oh no, I bet there's problems and they're just not letting me know. Where do you think most people default? I'm pretty sure most people default to a negative answer on that. So even if you're having a negative answer, communicate it, because then it ends the doubt. I wonder what's going on. Oh, they need such and such. Oh, they're furloughing a third of their staff. Oh, they've moved this service to an online solution. Tell the people who matter most to you what's going on so that they continue to stay engaged.
Are there any case studies maybe or examples of something, and you don't have to name an organization, that they've done that, boy, that was a blooper. They sure had a right idea to communicate, but a wrong way to share or the wrong message?
You know, Ruth, instead of poking at someone who I don't think did a very good job, let me tell you one that I think is really smart. It starts with the core 5-word definition that I share freely. How to build a brand? 5 words. Do good and get caught. So about a week ago, I read that Joanne, which I guess is one of the largest fabric stores, I'm not a seamstress, but they had a partnership with Neiman Marcus that I think is about as high end as it gets. Joanne had all this material. Neiman Marcus had all the seamstresses who clearly weren't busy because no one's buying fancy event wear because there's no event. And so they did a deal together to provide the material, get it to the seamstresses, and then talk about it. Do good and get caught. It's one thing to do good only to get caught. Now you're exploiting. Now you are capitalizing. But if you're doing the right thing for the right reasons, make sure people know. My son got a notice from Delta that said, if you don't show up for your flight, don't worry. Everything's so crazy. If you don't take the flight, if the flight's canceled, we're just going to credit you the money. Don't worry.
Wow.
Which I think is a really good way of dealing with that. Basically saying, we'll figure it out later. Take care of what you need to take care of.
Absolutely.
So instead of thinking about who's not doing it right, I think you both know me. I'm a glass half full kind of guy, and I look at crises as opportunities for true values to shine right through. So compare the organization that lays everybody off to the organization that keeps everyone on board and says, we're going to do everything. Now, which value do you think is going to be more sustainable long term? That's a rhetorical question. The point is, Every crisis is an opportunity for an organization to let its true value shine through. And you know what? Your true values are going to shine through whether they're good or bad. I hope you have good ones, but let them out. Explain what you're doing. I've seen some incredibly innovative things being done by small businesses and doing takeout and do the right thing. Flip your menu, make it less expensive, provide for the healthcare workers. There's so many things that can be done. And the flip on that for our not-for-profit community is what can you do to help, not just be the recipient? Can you marshal your team to sew face masks, which is not something I'm advocating because I think that's too important to have amateurs do, but whatever. The point is there's something every not-for-profit can do to be a part of the solution. So find those right things and then make sure people know about it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Eric Morgenstern. So how can people get a hold of you and find out some more information and get your blogs? Your articles are just stocked full of the information and people need. So where can they visit?
Bobby. Just come to our website. It's Morningstar Communications, and it's Morningstar.com, COMM.com. So MORNINGSTARCOMM.com. And all my contact info and about 100 blogs, and it's all ungated and it's all designed to share tips to help our not-for-profits and other community leaders be as effective as possible at telling their stories.
Well, thank you, Eric, and we appreciate it. And thank you for listening to Casey Cares, Kansas City's nonprofit voice, produced by Charitable Communications, a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We're proudly sponsored by the Ewing Marion Kaufman Foundation. You like what you hear? Support our efforts and other efforts of nonprofits around the Kansas City area by sharing the stories of those nonprofits. Underwriting opportunities are available. Casey Cares podcasts are available at caseycaresonline.org. And if you want to be a guest, just visit us there and fill out the form, spread the love, and find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at Casey Cares Online. And thank you for listening to Casey Cares, Kansas City's nonprofit voice.